Going through the clearance aisle at Walmart recently, I happened upon a pile of Titans Return toys, including a whole stack of Megatrons for 15 bucks a pop. And like, that's a really, really good triple changer for 15 bucks a pop. That's a crime. But I also stumbled upon this guy, which is Getaway, or, for trademark purposes, Breakaway. I didn't feel the need to own a second Chrome Dome, but he's such a deliciously wicked and wormy of a character in Lost Light, I kind of needed a Getaway in my life, even if his name was changed. So let's take a look at him and see if he is worthy of owning in your collection. He's cast in a completely white shade of plastic, which means his detailing is a little bit washed out, but luckily he's not got a whole lot of it going on to really fret over. No, the paint is where I fret over this toy a little bit. So, for starters, we have the tampograph on the side, which seems to be the only flat area they could have added it, and it seems like a very brief spot of detailing. I would have loved for it to continue on, but there's just too much 3D detailing there in order to make it look smooth, so that's not an option. We have some racing stripes here, but they don't continue down the side, so they just kind of abruptly stop. We have an attempt to make a little bit of molding from Chrome Dome look like an engine, but it's a really pale shade of gray, so it doesn't really pop from the white as much as I would want it to. Say the same for the attempt at making a bumper on the front. And then you have the blue here in the back. You can see all these details that are trying to make Chrome Dome's vehicle mode look as much like G1 Getaway as possible, but it's a round peg square hole kind of connection. It does not quite work. You can kind of pass it as maybe a more Cybertronian take on the vehicle, but it's lacking, and it's really unfortunate here. It's pretty much just the best they could do with what they had. My biggest grievance is with the windshield, which is a nice shade of dark red, and that gives him a much needed color hit. What I don't like is this bright red that's the continuation of the windshield. They do this all the time, where the clear plastic is blue, but all the molded in windows are like super bright blue paint, and there's no even like the slightest effort would have made this match, and it would have looked way better, but instead we have this, and it looks very awkward and broken up. Speaking of, this is a really strange yellow line. I don't care about G1 accuracy, I care about this doesn't really look good, just abruptly ending on the side. There's a lot about the paint that gets on my nerves on this toy. So yeah, besides that, it's a rather dull take on Chrome Dome's vehicle mode without that two-tone brown or two-tone general. It's just not that thrilling of a vehicle. You know, it's nice on its own, but when it's trying to be somebody else, something about it just doesn't quite work. So we have the usual features of the Titans Return toy line. If I can actually get his windshield open, it will fold up like so and reveal it inside is his Titan Master partner, Throttle, who is looking very barren of paint. That's unfortunate. So the robot mode is borrowed from Blur's Headmaster, if I recall correctly. You'll find there's a few parts that is shared with Blur, as Titans Return just loved reusing random parts from other toys. But yeah, this is your standard Titan Master with a standard ball joint here, ball joint on the shoulders that really only work to move the arms forward, and then the double hinge thigh that lets the knees bend. That's what you got. So looking at the rest of the toy, we fold this back. We can see it doesn't really have many spots for Titan Masters to go, which is a little bit unfortunate. Now, can we... Hey, it's got some unusual slots here. No, that don't work. Can you slot in here? Oh, yeah. If you want to have them sit weirdly on the back, you can do that. That is actually the right size. If you want Titan Master to actually mount on him, you're pretty much left with his weapon accessories, which can mount on the side like so. It looks really awkward, and please don't drive against the opposing side of the traffic. Or up top, which looks a lot better and sits on some special pegs that are made just for that spot. And then you can have a Titan Master ride right in here and mount this gun. And then, of course, you do the actual Transformer thing, which is finding all the places to mount the guns and looking like a Twisted Metal vehicle. So that works fairly well. At least he has some play value. Still, weird, no Titan Master pegs on him whatsoever. Usually the line just strews them about. All right, so robot mode transformation time. Let's get that. Let's get the windshield up again. And this is even... How is this more stuck than the last time I had it? That's embarrassing. Okay. Get those out of the way and folded down. Get the arms untabbed. Double hinge them up. Out of the way like so. To the legs, where we're going to fold them open. And then flip down and then close up nicely. Fold out the feet, because those are nice to stand on. Open them up, make sure everything's tabbed in. Rotate all the way around. Chest comes down like so. Front of the hood folds down. Snap together for a nice little backpack. And then we fold and flip in order to get the head mounted into its correct position. And that is going to do it. Well, sorry. I saw the peg holes here and I thought those were the fists. Slight optical illusion. Don't worry. We're back on track. And we have Breakaway in his robot mode. Of course, same transformation as Chrome Dome, rather basic and feels very familiar if you bought the Combiner War Stunticons. The engineering is exceptionally similar to the Dead End mold, which is not a bad mold to be based on. That was actually a really nice toy. It's just a little unfortunate if you've bought that mold as often as I have, because he does get a little bit tiring, and this kind of feels like the same guy all over again. Taking a look at his robot mode, the head sculpt itself is based on the IDW, because that's pretty much the only Getaway you would actually think of these days. G1 Getaway, pretty much just there in the toy line. He never really made many major plays in the comic books. He certainly wasn't in the cartoon at any point. He's just one of those extra headmasters, one of those extra power masters. I'm just now realizing I can't remember what Getaway was. I think he was a power master. Don't hold that against me. It's been a long week. Yeah, so he does as much of a job as he needs to kind of get away with his look. Speaking of, once again, the paint job kind of forces the Getaway appearance onto Chrome Dome. It doesn't look as bad here. We got extra gray and extra dark blue to kind of break up the color scheme. He is still very white in the wrong areas. I wish there was some kind of hit to his arms so they just weren't just big white slabs hanging off his body, but that's what we got, so it's what we're working with. I do like how they painted the underside of the torso, which is everything on the toy that was not painted on the original version. So it's actually, let me just show you what I mean, because I've got them right here in the shelves. Front all painted, bottom all painted, which is good to give you a little bit of visual variety between the two. You do share a few things like the knee pads, etc., but you can see even he knew you need a little bit of color on the arms there. So as he stands, a little bit plain looking, but that comes from just being stark white and not really having a major secondary color coming in. A little unfortunate. So let's see, engineering wise, well, he's still got his ball jointed head. A little bit weird and loose on mine, but workable. What I like is that he can kind of tilt his head as if he is suspicious or up to something, which is pretty much in line with what Getaway would be. We have ball joints in the shoulders as well as a hinge in the torso, so you can adjust the arm even more than a normal universal joint. You have a full bicep rotation as well as a 90-degree elbow. Waist articulation works nice. Thigh, the hip joint works in all ranges, no real restriction. That comes open if you're not careful. Full 360 at the thigh and then 90-degree at the knee. He poses quite well now, doesn't he? So you get a nice posable figure at the very least, because, well, that's pretty much the normal for these days. You don't really get many bricks anymore, do you? They all pretty much have a good range of articulation. So, just like in the vehicle mode, we still have those two weapons, which you can combine, you can double mount, you can do all kinds of things. He still has the ports here in the shoulders if you want to mount them there, or if you want to just give him a pair of double weapons or a doubled up weapon. So he has play variety there, and of course, you can still mount Titan Masters, or Prime Masters now. We have those. But beyond that, that's the playability you get out of him, and that brings us to the end. So for $10, I'm okay with him. but that's mostly my love of the new iteration of the character. The toy itself just feels like so similar to everything else, and I don't even mean just because he's Chrome Dome. The homage feels a little bit forced. It feels very much this is the closest character we can get to an actual character who could be repainted from Chrome Dome. So it's a little bit of a cheat. It's a little bit forced, but if you're a big fan of the character, at least it's something. It could be worse. It could be nothing. It's better than nothing if we're taking the Mighty Number 9 approach. That said, if you have Chrome Dome, or frankly, if you have the Combiner War Dead End mold somewhere, I don't really see the need to go out of your way to get this guy, unless you really love Getaway. He's just very, very average.